Welcome back to the channel. Hit the like and subscribe button, and thank you for watching. Today we have a long one. So here we're going to be doing some plasti dipping on the Model Y. We're going to plasti dip the T's, and we're also going to do the dual motor. So if you can see right here, you want to get a spray on test first on the whatever covering you're using. I use just a garbage bag to cover up the rest of the car, and then you want to make a movement left to right, right to left, but just go into that direction and try to cover up the T as much as possible. Now this is going to require multiple layers, so this video is a little bit long because it takes multiple layers, multiple steps trying to get and achieve this look. You want to have at least 6 to 7 layers when it comes to the finished product. As you can see right now, I'm just focusing on the rear end of the vehicle, and then we're going to do the dual motor as well as the line just to see how it looks, and we'll see the finished product. We'll also be working on the front, and you'll see the whole process. This video includes all of that information, and if you have any question, put it in the comments, but we'll keep on discussing exactly what it takes. So if you want to achieve this look, make sure you cover up your vehicle. Once you cover up your vehicle, you can start spraying. So the things that you will need is some painter's tape just to cover up as much as possible, as well as something to cover the rest of the car. You want to cover the sides because there's going to be some splatter. It's harder to clean up individual splatter pieces compared to when you have it done like this. So once you have multiple layers, it's much easier to peel. And the reason why I went with Plasti Dip is because it is not permanent, and you can remove it at a later time if you desire a different look. You can also change colors. So this here is approximately 7 sprays, 7 layers. Wait time between each layer is about 5 minutes to 10 minutes depending on how much it takes to dry and the weather conditions. I recommend doing it in drier environments. Don't try to do it when it's too cold outside or if it's wet. And make sure you clean the vehicle around the T, and then use alcohol swab to clean the T itself. Might just help out with the sticking. When you're spraying it, again, you want to make sure you cover different angles, but you go from one side to the other and get that layering on. The first layer, you don't have to do as much. Second layer, you can do a little bit more. Just make sure that you don't have too much of a splatter. That's why you also saw me putting a little bit on the bag first, just so it gets out any kind of excess spray. So as you can see, now we have about 7 layers of spray on here, and it's fairly easy to peel. When you're peeling it off, make sure you pull in the opposite direction. So pull it away from the crease, and it should just peel off. Go ahead and grab a toothpick or something that's not too sharp to be able to get off the little pieces in the corners. Now, as you can see, there's some residue on the sides. We can go ahead and clean that, and you'll see what it looks like. This one wasn't too hard, so it was fairly easy to remove the items. And if you find any excess pieces like this, you can go ahead and just pull it slowly and push the rest of it in. You can use your fingernail and whatever works. This is still in its drying process. It takes about 3 days before it looks really nice. It'll look nice right away, but 3 days you'll notice it dries much better. For the rest of the surroundings, we're just going to use a cloth with a waterless cleaner or any kind of cleaner that you have, and we can wipe that off. It's fairly easy process. And now we're just finishing up. Like I said, just use your fingernail or something else to tuck in between anything excess. It will look much better once it dries fully off, and you'll see the final product. And here we go. Like I said, just something waterless based solutions. That's what I tend to wash my car with. Either be Rain-X or Meguiar's, whatever you prefer. There's many different options. I'll even put some in the descriptions. To the ones that I like, Adams is a really good brand as well. And just go ahead and scrub that off. As you can see, it comes fairly off easily. As for the Plasti Dip, you have a lot of different options. I am going with the black. It's a more of a matte black finish because it matches the car. More of a white on black look. And with the spoiler being black and a lot of the accents transitioning from chrome, I wish that Tesla offered a chrome delete on the logos as well. You can go ahead and keep scrubbing right there, and you'll see here we have more of a cleaned product. And that's how it looks once it's done. Now we can go ahead and focus on the front. This is what it looks now. As you can see, you have the chrome. You want to cover it up with a bag again, or if you have cardboard or paper. It doesn't have to be the whole part of the car. It just varies. If you're doing it outside, if it's windy, you want to make sure that you cover it up as much as possible because of the splatter that might go on around the car. Then you just have more cleaning to do. This will just make it easier for you to clean. Once you get the bag positioned or cardboard, then I like to get as close as possible to the T, still leaving a little bit of space because you do want it to connect with the car. It'll make it easier to peel. If you try to do it too close to the edge, then you might have some issues and you might not even get the proper spray. But this still worked for me. As you can see right here, how close I've gotten to it, and it made it removing much easier, which you'll see a little bit later on. The reason why I use the bag was just because it's easier to mold. Again, if you are using it in a windier environment, it's going to be a little bit harder. So make sure that you use proper tape or adhesive to get the bag to stick. If you just cleaned your car with something that's got a ceramic coating or any kind of wax coating, some of the tape might not stick, and that's the problem that I had. It would unglue or just kind of come off just because the car wasn't sticky enough. But that's an easy solution as long as you put enough tape in the proper locations. And now that we have the T set up, we also went back and we did the dual motor. So the first shot here, you can see that I did the dual motor, and then I decided that I wanted to do the line as well, just to test out and see if I can get the line done all the way and then remove the strip where you have the red line. But we'll see the final product. So again, do a test spray and just go left to right, right to left in that motion. The reason why you again want to make sure you test your spray out is that you don't want excess spray. If you get excess spray, it's going to bubble up and it's not going to look nice. Some people have experienced that. So I just use this one on the other side. Again, I do a test spray and there you go. So you have to let this dry. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes per layer. So it's a long process if you have a lot of things to do. I did it the back first and then the dual motor in the front together, just because I was able to set it up that way after the fact. If you want to set up all three at the same time, then you can just rotate between the three. It'll make your process much easier and much faster. And you're just seeing these clips not in the in between time of waiting. You just spray it left to right and it's getting better and better. But you can see that I have the underline now, and we'll see how that looks. And here we go. We finished the T a little bit more. So it looks like it's bubbling, but it's not. That's just going to be the layers, and you'll again see the final product. It looks much cleaner. Now when you're spraying, make sure you get it also from different angles. You make sure that you get it from the top and from the bottom because of how it has to connect and go in between the letters or the T. Here we're just providing some close-up shots so you can see the drying process and more layers. Like I stated, it's about 7 layers that I did. That's what I did on the previous car and what I found it to be the best for holding. The reason why I did a Plasti Dip is because it's removable. Since it's removable, if you sell the car or if you want to go back to chrome or if you want to change the color, you have the option too. Yes, it's a little bit labor intense because of time and spray, but it's an inexpensive way of doing it since you can get one of the bottles for about $10 and that one bottle will cover you more than enough of doing all 3 of these. So as you can see, we do another layer and it's drying better and better. If you have wet spots, you'll notice on the left part of the or right part of the tea, it's a little bit wetter than the right, but if you let it dry, it'll still connect properly. You don't want to take it off earlier either, because if you do, or if you try to touch it, it'll leave fingerprints. This is not the most fun process because of the waiting time, but the end result is worth it. And all together between the layers, so if you have 7 layers and you have to wait between 5 to 10 minutes, you can expect it to be easily an hour-long process. Sometimes you can expedite it and make it a little bit faster, but just to make sure that it looks the way you want, take your time. When you take in your time, you're going to get the proper end result. Make sure you spray in the right way and don't overspray. Layer by layer is going to be much better than just trying to get it all on at once. So designate about an hour and a half to 2 hours to make sure that you get it done properly. And as you can see right there, it was a dried up tea. Now you kind of spray it and you see the pattern again, and we have the dual motor in the back, and you see it's dry, and now when you spray it, you can see that it's grabbing onto it again. You can use 5 layers. Again, I recommend 7 layers just because I feel it sticks better and lasts longer. The process itself is not hard. It's more of the time consumption and having to keep an eye on it. You don't want anything touching it. You don't want it to be too windy, and you have to prepare your car. You want to make sure you cover it up. So the few things that you want to do is cover up the car, tape up all the area around it. You want to make sure that you're using a good bottle and you test spray it, and you want to make sure you clean the areas around it. I prefer a waterless spray with something with ceramic or wax because it'll make it easier to remove after the fact. And here you see me peeling it off, and just make sure that you're pulling away from the tea in the directions. Even though I had it covered up, you can see that some paint still got through, but it's fairly easy to remove. So let's go ahead and focus on just getting everything here done. And there was an area where it wasn't fully dried, so removing it almost ruined it, and that's just me not paying attention and trying to take it off before it was finished. So make sure that you allow it the proper time to dry. Give it at least 10 to 20 minutes once you're done to fully dry before you are taking it off. And make sure that you're peeling away from the tea. That's the most important part. If you pull towards the tea, you can rip it off the direction and it'll come off, and you'll have to do some fixing. Use a toothpick for the finer in between spots, just to pick and grab and pull. Right there, grab it, and you can see the pulling, and there you go. And the rest of it, just use a cloth just like you did on the back, and to clean it up. Once you do that, it'll be fairly easy to continue with whatever you need to do next in the removal process. And right there, so if you use multiple layers, you saw how much easier it is to come off, because these fine areas here do require a little bit more scrubbing. And as we keep scrubbing, let's go ahead and speed up through this process a little bit. Just make sure that you are not touching the tea. So when you scrub, try to grab your fingernail and get in between there, really as close as possible, and to rub. But in this current moment, try to avoid rubbing anything on the logo itself, because it'll most likely strip it, and you don't want that. It takes some time to actually dry, which I would say is about 3 days. Then it's a little bit better, and you can kind of wipe But again, you do have to be a little bit careful with that going forward. Because it is a plastic dip, you can remove it. It just rubber comes off and it'll be back to chrome, which is the normal. But here you go. You saw the whole process for the front. And let's go back to the back. The dual motor is a little bit harder just because it does have letters and it has in between areas where you do need to remove it finally. So it's a little bit harder. The front of it is not that hard. So as you can see me peel, I taped really close to it and around it and didn't have any issues. And just make sure again you're pulling away from the logo. And we got that first part removed. As you can see, I did the line as well. The final product, I did end up removing it just because I couldn't get that red strip to work or to come through properly. I think there's a process that can work, but I don't mind the end look, and you guys be the judge for that. So put in the comments which one you prefer. Some people like it with the red strip and leaving it as chrome because it's hard to tell, or do you just black out the whole thing, or go online and find a new strip for the car and remove this one and add the new one, because you can do that as well, but it does require more work because you have to remove the original emblems, clean everything after it, and then place the new ones and make sure that you're getting it placed properly so it's not uneven or anything like that. And here, as you can see, as I'm pulling, this one is much harder because of the individual letters and the way they're angled. But anything that pulls off even a little bit, as you can see with the U, you can just put it back into its place, and once it dries, it'll stick again and stay there. And we just continue pulling, and once we pull everything off, we'll have to go and remove out of the D, A, O, O, and R the end parts, which I recommend using something really fine. If you have a Cricut tool pick, grab one of those. If you have a toothpick, grab one of those. It has to be very small. I used this in the beginning and I was able to get some of it out, but if you have the other tool, it's much easier. And just have to be really careful here. Just grab it. You just want to make sure that you also grab something that does not have a capability of scratching the car, and if it does, you have to be very careful so you don't scratch the car on how you're moving it around. A toothpick really won't scratch the car, and neither will this plastic fork either. I just did not have a toothpick on hand at the moment in the process of getting this to work. And let's go ahead and keep peeling, and we peel a little bit more, and there you go. So this is how it would look if you left the strip the way it is, matted out black. I like that the strip has the red part of it in it, so I ended up removing it, and we'll see if I ever change my mind and do something else to it. And let's go ahead and see. I was trying to see if I can move the end piece out so it just shows the red, but it didn't work because there's not enough of a cut. So there's a way, but it's very time consuming if you're trying to do it. And that's peeling out the end parts here is fairly easy. Just make sure again you're moving away from that direction. So you're pulling, if it's from the top, you're pulling it down. If you're, there you go, if you're moving it left, right, and just keep on pulling away from it. There you go. And then just pat it back in if it does come out a little bit. The only one that I left was the A, just because it's such a small gap that it did not matter, so I left that one in there. But the O, and R, I did remove those, and those came out fairly easy. So if you've gotten this far, you're pretty much at the finish line. You're really close to just getting it cleaned up and letting it dry. This one I had to use something finer to remove. But here's the final product you'll get to see. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.